Welcome home, my leadership friends, to a conversation that could transform the way you lead, live, and create value. This is a concept that is born out of meetings I have had with powerful people much smarter than me. Some of them had Stanford degrees, and others had MIT degrees and MIT PhDs, even. One time I met with three people with PhDs from MIT, and there are apparently different sizes of rings you can get if you get a PhD from MIT. And one of the guys had a giant one, but they all could say in unison, MIT PhD MONEY, which rhymes with the Disney Mickey Mouse Club kind of a thing. But anyway, the club for MIT PhD is MONEY. I worked with these people late into the night at times to create winning products. Designers need simplicity. Engineers and you, my favorite leader, you can also benefit greatly by helping your teams to simplify. Complexity doesn't equal control. Today, we're diving into simplicity because, let's be honest, most leaders are drowning in complexity. They're built dashboards so intricately that they might make a rocket scientist dizzy. That is a key indicator, right? If your rocket scientist is confused. The more layers you add, the less influence you wield and the less value you deliver to people. And those are the people that you care about most, right? My family, friends, and colleagues all want me to simplify because they have enough complexity in their own life. Last week, we unpacked systems, but if you make your systems complex, that's terrible. A system can either anchor your success or sink it. Simple systems win. They amplify your influence, streamline results, and make your team's life easier. As Elon Musk put it, any requirement is a candidate for elimination. That's not just for engineering. It's not just engineering wisdom. It's a leadership mantra, and some people think working harder on more issues is better. Oh, I have so much going on. I'm so busy. Well, maybe you should simplify and be a little smarter about it. Sometimes it's true that if you're doing more and then it becomes more complex. But if you take last week's systems and make them too complex, no one will use them. Simplicity isn't slacking, it's strategic. People don't remember what you say, they remember how you made them feel, according to Maya Angelou. And you do not want your people to feel overwhelmed from all the complexity. You want them simply focused on the priorities that make you and them win. So here's a question to chew on. Where in your leadership are you mistaking busyness for progress? Think about that today and this week. Let's set the stage with the story. Picture me years ago moderating focus groups. My job, take a room full of chaotic opinions and make people not behave like I'm having to herd cats. And people have strong feelings and maybe it's about catnip. But anyway, I try to distill them into clear, actionable insights for executives. That's when I learned the power of focus. As a self-proclaimed concluder personality, I like a straightforward answer. When I helped companies with double-digit and even sometimes triple-digit growth, it was often by focusing on three super important things for the marketplace. Not 57 kind of important things, but three super important things that took account of what the competition was doing and how to position my client so they could own a space in the marketplace and dominate those top features that people really wanted. You do not want to overwhelm the marketplace or your staff with mental clutter. You want to adopt simplicity as a shared love language. So create that shared love language of simplicity. I also believe in a rule of three for communications, as I was talking about just a second ago, and in marketing. If you try to do more than three messages and get those across to people, you will likely fail because it's too complex. An average person can only hold about 7 things in their short-term memory, and you have to hold things in your short-term memory for them to go to your long-term memory so they actually use it, right? So 7 things in their short-term memory, and it must go to short-term before it goes to long-term memory. I used to evaluate ads all the time. And what are you looking for? Recall and believability. So they can remember it and they can believe it. But if they can't remember it, they sure as heck aren't going to believe it. And it sure isn't going to be their love language. Anyway, I like the idea of marketing messages that overcome a major barrier and two top features that might drive a purchase in marketing. If that works, overcome a barrier to buy and a couple of reasons why you want to use a product. Let's talk about Lila Snyder, the CEO of. I learned about her from Don Yeager and his podcast. She says growth comes from small daily risks, those choices that nudge you out of your comfort zone. Pair that with disciplined simplification, and you've got a recipe for laser like focus. Want your team to thrive? Help them see the big picture without wading through a swamp of details. Maybe there are crocodiles in the swamp. Anyway, simple, small risks done more frequently is a great idea. Think of it as a sports analogy. Would you go for base hits instead of home runs, please? Yes. Why? Because the odds are in your favor that way. A great batter fails 70% of the time, even if they're not a home run hitter. In fact, 95% of the time, a major league batter does not hit a home run, even though that's not what they show on the news. If you're a really great home run hitter, the opposing team may choose to walk you, for example, and then you don't get a hit, right? So you could bunt, you could get a single, a double, or a triple, but you are great if you get on base 30% of the time. That's batting 300. My grandfather was a baseball coach, and he used to say, if you can hit, we'll find a place for you on the team in the outfield. Go for simple base hits and be in the game. People wonder why they're not in the game. Maybe it's because they're trying to go for home runs instead of base hits. The CEO wants to go for home runs. He doesn't want to promote the new guy to do home runs. If you want a seat at the table, do things more frequently that add value instead of occasionally. Question: if your team had to name your top 3 priorities for delivering customer value, would their answers match yours? Time for a survey, maybe. You can do a sampling, right? With a survey, you don't have to survey your entire workforce, but do a little sample. Normal distribution helps at about 25 employees. So talk to 25. Now let's talk about stakes. Employees don't quit jobs, they quit confusion. When they feel overwhelmed, when they don't know what they're doing, when they're stressed out. When your team can't connect their work to a clear plan, a simple plan, they check out. And Harvard Business Review backs this up. Companies that simplify customer experiences don't just win hearts, they outperform their peers by 86%. Think about that. By being clear and simple, you might outperform your peers, meaning competitors, by 86%. 86%. That's a big number. Anyway, in terms of shareholder returns, that's 86% in terms of shareholder returns. That's proof simplicity pays. But there's a deeper layer here. And let's look at the Bible for some wisdom in Matthew 5:3-7. Let your yes be yes and your no, no. Clarity isn't just productivity as a hack. It's a spiritual principle. When your words and priorities are straightforward, you build trust. Muddle them, and you're building a house of cards. And house of cards falls over, by the way. Question: how clear are your yeses and nos to your team right now? One of my favorite authors that I got to see exactly a year ago in person, Malcolm Gladwell, in his book Outliers, success often comes from the steady accumulation of advantages. That's simplicity in action. Focusing on the fundamentals that compound over time. So getting a return on your leadership values means focus on those fundamentals, right? It's not magic. It's not mystery. It's fundamentals. Just consistent execution of what matters. John Wooden, if you're a fan of coaches, he used to say, practice the layup, and his players would protest at times. I can do layups. And he said, yeah, but I want you to do it in the game when it matters. Consistent execution of what matters most. Putting the ball in the hoop. Think about it. Think like this. When I was a little kid, many cars had hand crank windows. Then power windows came along, all shiny and new, but Consumer Reports, they didn't like them. They stuck with hand cranks. So when I bought my first new car, a Nissan pickup to pull a ski boat, I got the hand cranks. Why? Because I wanted fewer parts, fewer breakdowns, and more time with reliability and pulling the boat. Fast forward to my days working on MP3 players, early models had spinning hard drives. Drop one and your music was toast. Then the engineers switched to solid state memory. Boom. Durable, simple, reliable. That shift didn't just create value, it sparked a revolution that gave us the iPod and the iPhone. That iPhone, the reason you can drop it and it doesn't die, has to do with its solid stateliness. Many of the best things in life are solid state, including a lot of things we take for granted now, like computer and TV screens that people seem to spend all of their time on, including myself. So amplifiers at your favorite concert, lots of things have solid state components instead of the old tubes and things that they used to have back in the 60s when Jimi Hendrix was playing. In leadership, moving parts might also include the complexity of moving people. Again, herding cats is a big part of leadership, and you have a lot of moving pieces. So if they're on task to the simple things that deliver results, then it works great. If it's too many cooks, the cooks might spoil the broth, right? How does that happen? Each cook comes by and throws pepper in the soup. Pretty soon you got too peppery soup. Question: where in your business could you make a solid state shift? Make simplicity your love language. So cut the moving parts and boost reliability, baby. Here's where it gets fun. Leaders love chasing shiny trends and making their mark. The ego makes you make your mark. And pruning your ego is something that John Maxwell was talking about just today. So don't let it be you that needs your ego stroke and you create new apps, new buzzwords, and new dashboards and things that just create complexity and not that important. Complexity is like a bad stand-up comedian. It tries too hard and bombs. Ever tried multitasking your way to greatness? Spoiler, it doesn't work. Stanford research shows multitasking even tanks efficiency and weakens memory. Want to lead well? Model single tasking. Show your team what focus looks like. And let's not forget Occam's razor. The simplest solution usually is the best. Strip away the fluff and you're left with what works. Jim Rohn, one of my favorites, he was born the same year as my dad in the same village of Yakima. Jim Rohn put it perfectly. Success is the natural consequence of consistently applying the basic fundamentals. That's your playbook. Stick to what's essential. Simple. Again, the sports analogy would be the layup instead of the long shot. Odds are better for a 1-foot shot than a 20-foot shot. Question: are you modeling focus? Are you the poster child for multitasking? Let's lean into wisdom from Ecclesiastes 7:29. God made mankind upright, but they have sought out many schemes. Translation: simplicity is God's design. Complexity is our detour. When you lead with clarity, you're not just cutting through the noise, you're aligning with the divine principle that brings order out of the chaos. Here's a quick laugh for you, maybe. Picking up a Real Simple magazine won't make you a simplification and leadership guru. Sorry, friends, but a tidy closet doesn't equal a thriving business. Simplifying for Instagram, it's cute, but simplifying for impact, that's where the magic happens. Think about results, key results. I've had lots of martial arts instructors and leadership instructors who want to break boards, and they usually have one little single board. And I'm a 200-pound guy, so it's pretty easy for me. The key is to focus in one spot and follow through. Leadership is focus and follow through. Sales is follow through. Focus and follow through. Simplify and focus, and the technique works for 1 or 3 boards, 1 or 3 clients. Having to do breaking boards because you do not focus and follow through is very painful, as young kids learn, because you hit the board one time and it doesn't break. It hurts your hand, and then you have to do it with your hand hurting. So focus and follow through one time, because you likely scratched your skin on your hand by letting the board win over your hand because you were not focused and not following through. Having too many targets can mean you don't get any goals, like the dog who goes for their bone in the reflection in the pond, another bone in the water. Question: are you simplifying for show, or are you simplifying for results? Let's tie this together with a challenge. Lila Snyder's advice about daily risk isn't just for career climbers. It's for leaders who want to cut through the clutter. One small risk this week to simplify. Maybe it's killing redundant processes or saying no to a low-value meeting. As John Maxwell says, everything rises and falls on leadership. And I'll add leadership when it's simple enough to follow and strong enough to last. So, question: what small risk could you take this week to simplify your leadership and amplify your impact? Let's end with a truth that's as old as time. Ethics simplify everything. Lies are like a bad sitcom, hard to keep track of, always spiraling into chaos. But the truth is elegant, simple, and it sets you, speaking of set you free, John 8:32 said, "You will know the truth, and the truth will set you free." My father used to say, spicy food also will set you free. When you align with your God-given purpose, those things you know you're called to focus on, like your kids, being a provider or a leader or a moneymaker, your purpose takes care of you. Interesting how you take care of your purpose. Your purpose takes care of you. That's simple. Simplicity isn't about cutting corners. It's about cutting clutter. It's about choosing 3 priorities that drive value, taking small risks, base hits, and trusting that clarity brings life. Do those layups, whether you're shaping a brand, developing leaders, or running employee surveys. Simplicity is your superpower. So go out there, keep it simple, keep it focused, keep it profitable. And we used to have a phrase around the shop when I was starting as a consultant to keep it simple, stupid, or keep it stupid simple. If you did it the first way I did it there, it sounds like you're calling somebody stupid, but KISS is the abbreviation. And KISS helps you to keep it profitable. And if you want to take your leadership, branding, or team engagement to the next level, let's talk. I'm here to help you cut through the noise and create real impact. Final question: what's one step you're going to take today to simplify your leadership and unleash your team's potential? Until next time, bless your week, and thank you for tuning in. Please tell your friends about the podcast and share and like and subscribe. Thank you.